Hi, everyone. Ann O'Connell with OC Publishing here, and welcome to the author journey. And I want to wish everyone a very happy International Children's Book Day. As you know, it's one of my favorite genres to publish, and some of the best, most creative authors are children's book authors, and our illustrators are amazing too. So, shout out to all of my children's book authors and illustrators and designers. And today's guest is also among many hats that she wears, a children's book author. And we're going to dig into some of those amazing avenues that she goes down in her life. It's Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, who's an author and founder of USA Global TV and Radio, a certified meditation and yoga instructor, career, life, and executive coach who has taken a life that has been shaped by challenges and adversity and turned it into a dedication to assisting and empowering others in pursuit of their aspirations. Despite many adversities faced in her life, she achieved success in her 25-year career as a corporate executive, and more recently as best-selling author and founder of a very popular streaming network with 37,000 subscribers. We want to learn more about that. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Jacalyn to the author journey. Hi, Jacalyn.
Hi, so nice to be here, Ann. Thank you. I appreciate the intro as well.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure, and welcome. We've been juggling schedules and trying to get you on for a while now, so I am so excited that we landed on International Children's Book Day. How wonderful is that?
What are the odds of that? It's also interesting because I've interviewed you and been on the other side of the microphone, so I don't do very many interviews, so I'm really grateful to be here with you and doing this one.
Well, I appreciate it. I thank you very much for squeezing us in, because I mean, we'll jump a little bit more into the whole global USA Global TV in a minute, because that is just so inspirational. But let's talk about your children's books first. You have an amazing series called Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. Where did that come from? And how, I'm going to see if I can find a picture of her while you're telling us about that.
I actually have the first book in this series, which is The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. And Lady Ella is a ladybug with very special skills. Mm-hmm. And Lady Ella is actually named after my great niece. And this is her, Ella. It's an older picture. But really, what ended up happening was I do a lot of interviews myself, over 5,000. And so I spend a lot of time listening. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it make sense if we taught children how to listen so that decades later, they don't have to be going to therapy to undo all of the bad habits that have been in place? And so what really came to fruition is I had a vision board. I interviewed somebody, I don't remember who it was, and she was talking about vision boards. So on the vision board, I had all these little things, EL, elevated listener. So what I thought was, why don't we have these animal characters represent people who have taken my course, The Power of Elevated Listening? And so, for example, here is someone you know very well, Diane.
Our very own Diane Floyd-Bain. Yay! Diane, also a children's author.
The gazelle. So nice. That is kind of how that got all brought in together, that if you took my course, you became an elevated listener, you could be featured in the book series.
Oh, that's amazing. And your great niece, is she thrilled to bits to be featured in a book?
You know, the funny thing is her parents will send me pictures of her reading her books, which is so cute. Aww. So it is a very special thing. And I'm grateful that my nephew and his wife permitted me to put her, because we have a picture of her in each of the books.
Oh, that's so sweet. And why a ladybug? One of my favorite.
I've always been intrigued by ladybugs. I think they're so amazing. And they just bring, I don't know, they bring a smile to my face.
So one of the questions I want to ask you, and this is a beautiful segue, is what brings you joy? Your life is just so chock full of incredible, like you're a streaming host, you're a producer, you're a children's book author, you're a fitness instructor. If you could boil it down, like, what is it that brings you joy?
That's a great question. I would say curiosity. I really love to learn. And so I've got a number of degrees and certifications, and it's nothing to do with an ego. It's learning more and getting that gold star for doing it. So I feel like now, when I leave this earth, I've created a legacy in our television platform. The legacy will live on long after I'm not here anymore, I hope. And then with the children's books, I'm getting them into libraries and I'm teaching courses. And I'm hoping that will bring peace and joy across the world. So it's really that curiosity and that ability to give back.
Oh, I love that. Well, why don't we take a minute and have you read from the First Lady Ella book?
Fantastic.
That'd be okay.
This is it again, The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. So I'll start at the beginning. And I want to say that I have a co-author on this book, which is Mariska Dupria, and she is in New Zealand. Some of the books I wrote with others and some I wrote myself. So here it is. Lady Ella loves to travel. Today, she's continuing her amazing adventure as the listening mentor. Grand Beetle gave her a gold necklace. You can see it here. And it has her name on it, Ella. And she's been teaching animals across the world how to listen better. Lady Ella lives in Ladybugville. She earned her gold wings because she really knows how to listen to other animals and make them feel special. Gentle Farm is one of her favorite places to visit. Animals live there in the forest and on the farm. Lady Ella flies in and talks to her best friend, Tara, the white owl. And here's Tara. And Tara is actually Caroline Heward, the Harley Street stress expert, and she's over in the UK. We just did a show together. Hi, Tara. How are you? Asked Lady Ella. Tara said, Lady Ella, the farm animals are off grazing, but the wild animals are upset. They hear noises coming from the barn. Oh my, said Lady Ella. The farm is always so gentle and quiet. Tara said, let's talk to Errol, the wild horse. He can tell you his story. And off they flew to Errol. Now here's Errol, and that's actually Hyatt Ives. Let's see if we can find Hyatt. Here he is. I love Hyatt. Hyatt Ives, and he's there in the great state of Texas. Okay. Hi, Earl, said Lady Ella. What noises have you heard? I heard moo and a clanging sound. Maybe the barn is falling apart, cried Earl. We must tell all the animals to run away. Wait, said Tara. Let's talk to some of the other animals and hear their voices. Lady Ella says, let's see Sicaliza, the white lioness, and talk with her. Tara and Ella fly to Sicaliza, bathing in the sun. And here's Sicaliza, which that name means to listen. And Sicaliza is actually Janetta Barry, who is in Africa. Here she is. So she came up with that name. And I'll stop right there and see if you have any questions. I just want to show Caroline Heward as well.
Oh, nice. I love that you're improving word power and vocabulary. So there's a lot of things that are going on sort of subliminally as well, and so many teaching moments. Now you said that you're getting these into libraries and you're teaching. Are you going into classrooms, or are you using it in your coaching programs?
I haven't gone into classrooms yet. I actually didn't even have that on my vision board. That's a really good idea. To your earlier point, every book not only talks about listening, but also there's a lesson. And so, for example, I'll just show you one of my other ones. The Ocean Calls and Lady Ella Listens. I don't know if you can see this, but here they are.
Oh my goodness, they're beautiful.
Thank you. So we have a great illustrator. in this particular book, one of the animals, which happens to be Diane again, Diane is Eve the seal, and maybe you can see here.
Oh, wow.
So Diane ends up getting, thank you,
Something,
getting
yes.
caught in a fisherman's net. So in this book, children learn about ocean pollution as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and to be able to create a series like this, like what inspired you? I know that we talked about, your elevated listening partners, but before that, why children's books?
I
I'm
think
just.
because I interview so many authors,
Mhm,
and when they come on, Diane, for example, Diane Floyd Bane, and start to read, and the joy that comes from that,
mhm.
I think that was part of it. And of course, I was introduced to Red O'Loughlin, and he's my book coach. And I think he came up with the idea of the series. I really do.
He's great. He's been on the show as well. And I was scrolling through a little bit. All of your books are on Amazon, of course, for people to have a look. And one of the things that is very clear to me is that when you have an experience or an expertise, you want to share and help other people along if they're having a similar journey. So that sort of came through in other books that you have, like Behind the Green Screen.
Yes, absolutely. That was the first book that I wrote. And it's funny because you hear other authors say this, but when I go back and read it now, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that was really needs to be rewritten. But that book enabled me to share my story of how and why I left the corporate world, and then
Mhm.
some of the things that happened to me while I was in corporate. So I'll always be grateful for the career that I had, but I'm so happy now.
Well, you're just going gangbusters, and one of your other books um, relates to a chronic illness that you've been battling, right?
Yes.
And that can flare up at any time. So, talk a little bit about that and how that evolved into. It's a memoir, quite honestly, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm looking to see. I don't have any more than
I can
here.
bring. Let's have a look. Let me see if I can bring
Oh,
that up
thanks.
as well. Yeah.
I had a book signing and I sold those books. But so in 1999, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And I remember the moment the doctor told me that I had that disease. There it is. And you'll see a picture inside the book of me sitting there at University of Pennsylvania with my mother and the doctor telling me the diagnosis. And I really thought to myself, how will anyone ever love me? Because
No.
it's such a disgusting disease. I'm saying it myself because I have it, and it's been a huge part of my life. I mean, it does not go away. I mean, it's in remission at times, but it's
Mhm.
always on my mind about just saying, where are the bathrooms? Can I leave the house now? So what ended up happening was in 2018, I was introduced to the Crohn's Colitis Foundation, and they really gave me a reason to live. And I had been living really in shame and just humiliation. It was hard
Wow.
dating because, people they make judgments. And
Mhm.
when I was with other people who had similar issues, then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I feel for them. I want to help them. I don't want to focus on myself. So I became a member of the board, which is amazing. I also run a support group, and I also raise money and awareness through doing charity events. So this particular book, I actually wanted to write because I wanted to provide some information to help people as
Mhm.
well, and let people know that you're you're living with the disease, but you're not the disease.
Right. And I so admire you for that because, one of the projects that I've been involved with lately is called the Awfully Hilarious series. And the idea is to talk about things that have traditionally been taboo that really shouldn't be. They're part of our lives, they're part of living day to day. And this really does, again, you said it was a disgusting disease, but that doesn't define you, right? Any
Right.
disease can be very challenging, um, but to be able to write about your own personal experience, to say to people, there's a way through this, and to also, you know, fundraise and be on the board. So that's another one of your books. Um, so from your, what do you prefer to write? So you've written memoir, you've written children's books. You've also written the elevated listening, the book on elevated listening. What is your favorite thing to write and why?
I think it's well, first of all, the book on listening, Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening, I think of that now as my business card, so to speak. For when I meet someone new, I can hand that book and say, I hope you find this to be of value, and some tips in there. The children's books are a lot of fun. They really bring a lot of joy. And
Mhm.
I think the illustrators that we have, because we have the children's books, we also have activity books, we
Right.
have coloring books, we have a number of things. So I just really enjoy that so much. Our newest Lady Ella book, unfortunately, I don't have any copies of because paperback is available today, actually.
Oh, yay! Woohoo!
So
Well, let's bring that
Lady
one up.
Ella, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because I think it's also available for pre-order, right?
Yeah,
Lady.
so we first came out with it in pre-order for the ebook, and then the paperback was available as of today. So this is the next one. This is Lady Ella Joins the Gym. So I'll just give you a brief overview.
Yes,
Lady
please.
Ella, she goes to Gentle Farm in the first one, which I just talked about this one.
Mhm.
And then after she leaves here, she goes to the School of Joy. And there's a talent show here. And after she leaves the School of Joy, she goes to London. And in London, she has afternoon tea. And of course, you see there's always animals, and the animals are different people who've taken the power of listening. And then she leaves the afternoon tea party and she goes to the ocean, and she leaves there, and then she goes to Africa, to the Baobab National Game Park. So after she leaves Africa, she goes into space, and that's what the book that is available today. She goes to the solar system, and she goes to each of the planets, and she talks to the creatures who live there and help them understand how to communicate more effectively with one another and how to listen. So after she's done at the solar system, Mother Earth contacts her and says, you've done a great job. I want you to take some time for self health. I want you to do a wellness check. I want you to get some fitness. So Lady Ella kind of mirrors me in a way. And so now she is going to be joining the gym. And in the following book, she's going to open her own gym. So that's where it stands right now.
Oh my goodness, that's hysterical. Well, I just had this brainstorm, brainwave. You should have Lady Ella go into space again and meet the moonlings.
Oh, that's a great idea.
You
I'll have to
need to talk to
on
Diane about
one.
that.
That's a great idea.
Oh my goodness, that is too funny. So talk a little bit about your the coaching piece of the many hats that you wear. You do life and career and executive coaching. What does that look like?
Well, I started off as a life coach in 2019, and that's where I ended up meeting Mariska, one of my team members and also one of our elevated listeners and authors. And that experience was amazing because she helped me write my plan to leave corporate America. So what ended up happening was I got certified to teach people skill sets for various things. And of course, then the pandemic hit and nobody could afford to pay anything. So I was coaching for
Right.
free. And
Oh my
now
goodness.
I know, now what I really do with my coaching is I really consider myself to be an interview coach. So I teach people how to interview. And so
Oh.
what comes up in the process is that many times people feel insecure, and they
Mhm.
feel insecure for reasons that have nothing to do with them being a TV show host or being a guest, for example. And so we have to do some life coaching or maybe some career coaching to bring it all together so that they understand what it is that's holding them back.
There is a lot of overlap there, isn't there? Like, even
Yes,
if you're doing executive coaching, if that, you know, C-level executive is having difficulties, it's usually rooted in something else,
true.
right?
Very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, in my career in PR, I did a lot of media training for corporate executives, and so I applaud you for doing that. And I think it's really important. And we talked a little bit about that, backstage, that we would love for our authors, the authors that I work with, to do more of this kind of thing, and many are very hesitant. So I'll have to refer them to you to do the interview coaching.
And it's interesting because many authors, they don't have a website even because they don't want to put themselves out there. And I understand it, but once you put your book out there, it's there in the world for everyone to see. Why not let people get to know you more?
Exactly, exactly. I wanted to say hi to those who are watching, and if you have questions for Dr. Jacalyn while we're chatting, please feel free to pop them in the comments. And I want to say hi to Sue Slade, who's watching today. Sue is with Dartmouth Book Exchange, Dr. Jacalyn, and
Oh,
they are
right.
a huge supporter of indie authors here. So they have, I think, probably all OC Publishing titles at Dartmouth Book Exchange. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. And Sue says many authors are not even on social media.
Mm.
Very true. Very true. It can be a scary place. So, I.
Yeah, because you know what the whole thing is, and it's also being a business person, it's being an entrepreneur. And
Mhm,
that's scary in and of itself. And as you know, there are certain expenses that come with it. There's certain things you have to learn. And it's more than writing the book.
mhm,
It's establishing a presence, and social media is a huge way to do that. For
mhm.
example, I'm just going to give a quick shout out for my jewelry.
Oh,
This
yes, please.
jewelry,
It's beautiful. Oh,
thank
those are
you.
gorgeous.
My earrings, necklace, and then this bracelet, they're from Trina Tarantino.
Wow.
And I found out about Trina through Instagram, actually. And as it
Mhm,
turns out, I have a couple of her pieces. I love hair jewelry, so I wear a lot of her barrettes. But I have a couple of her pieces from literally, I don't know, 12 years ago, more than that. And then I saw her on Instagram, and now I'm giving her a shout out all the time because I love her stuff. I'm not a paid spokesperson. So the point is, if you have something to sell, if you have something of value, why not use social media to
mhm,
get people familiar with you? It starts with one person and builds and builds and
mhm.
builds.
And what's more valuable than books and reading and
Yeah,
literacy, right? Yes. And
yeah.
I love the butterfly too. We'll have to
Thank you.
definitely look at that. Um, so let's segue a little bit over to USA Global TV and Radio. Huge. It's really grown in leaps and bounds. It's going gangbusters. Um, where did that start?
It started with a cold call from a radio station in New York. They called me in 2019. I
Uh,
don't even know why I answered the phone because I don't know what the number was. And the person said, "We see that you're a life coach." And meanwhile, I was working in corporate at the time. So the coaching was kind of really on the back end. I was really getting the certification for
mhm,
what I was planning on doing. And he said, "We'd like to interview you for 8 minutes about your life coaching. And that's it. We're going to call you on a certain day. You'll do the interview." So they asked me 5 or 6 questions, and they called the next day. I wasn't expecting any follow up, and said that I did such a great job. And I realized it was a pitch at the time, but they wanted to offer me my own show. So I love the idea of having a radio show. I
mhm.
called it Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, and it was the drive live at 5, Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, Fridays at 5 p.m. And so it was really about life coaching. So it
Mhm.
started out that the one of the people there was interviewing me. Mike was interviewing me every week. And then finally I said, I really want to take this over myself. And I started getting guests. Then I was interviewed in person at a television station in New Jersey, RVN Television. And I remember watching back the interview later. I was like my face was frozen in a smile. I was so happy. I was just like, la, 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 la. So I went and I talked with the owner and I said, I'd love to have my own show. What's involved? So I paid the money, signed the contract, and Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn became a television show on RVN TV, which at the time was on Roku. So to end this story, I saw that one of the other show hosts at RVM was doing something on Facebook and YouTube. And so I contacted him and I said, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing this? And he had a producer. I contacted the producer. I hired the producer. And then he started taking our radio show and made it a television show. And then I learned to do what the producer did. And then I took it over myself. Then finally, coming to the end of the story, I was offered a TV show in New York. They wanted to put me on Discovery Channel or something. I paid the money. I went to New York. I had a driver, a business coach, the whole deal. And then they absconded with my money. And from there,
buyer beware, right? Oh my goodness.
From there, I was able to negotiate something else, and I ended up getting more radio shows. And then people started watching, people started coming forward, and I thought this could really be something. And now I'm going to have to charge. And that's when that I was paying myself, right? But to ask people for money, that's a tough thing. But anyway, then the platform started growing. We're on all these other platforms now. I'm so grateful.
I'm so impressed. And so how many shows do you have now?
We have about 42 different shows, and that doesn't mean that every one of them is going every week because people have to sign up and book in, but it's an easy process. You go to usaglobaltv.com and book your session. And some of our shows are on E360 TV, and some of our shows are on Roku worldwide. They're also on Amazon Fire. I'm an Amazon influencer, so I've got my own Amazon Live platform as well, which is great for any authors who have books and they want to be interviewed on Amazon Live to help sell their books, or anyone who has merchandise on Amazon Live.
And so we're looking at the show page. So if somebody was interested in being interviewed on USA Global TV and Radio, they would go to the website, the usaglobaltv.com, and then there's a link for shows. And
then book your session up at the top. You just click book your session. And what we do now is, because see, there you go. What we do now is we offer people the opportunity to be interviewed 3 times in a calendar year. The reason being, we had some people that were booking in 10, 12 times, and they were taking up a slot that other people could have, they could have a time slot. So it's 3 times within a year, or you pay. And the fee is very nominal. And then, of course, we have show hosts from all over the world who have their own shows. And then I now have my own shows. So the process is I train people, I bring them on board, I do the shows with them until they feel comfortable. And if they need coaching, I'll give them coaching. But basically, you're taking the show over. It's going to be your show, and I need you to feel comfortable so that you feel good doing the show by yourself. And now we have producers. We have marketing, we've got search engine optimization people. So it really has been built into a business.
It's wonderful. And I have been fortunate enough to be a guest on your shows a few times, the business shows and the author shows. So I have firsthand knowledge of the experience, and it's a wonderful experience. I just love it's a chat, and it's just a great way to share, your business, your book, your experience, and get the word out. So I commend you for building such an amazing, vibrant network. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. One thing I just want to add is that all of our TV show hosts are elevated listeners. They all have to take the course. And in addition to that, they do not use a script. There's no script. So you find out the guest, maybe you go to LinkedIn, you do a Google search, but you have no preconceived ideas about where the conversation is going to go. And I also train them that the interview is not about what you want to know. It's about what the guest wants to share. So that's the philosophy. And that makes people nervous because there's no script. No, there's no script.
Well, if you like to hear people's stories, and you have a topic of interest that you're passionate about, then there's no reason that it can't just be, a free-flowing conversation, because you never know what else you're going to uncover. Like,
It's
I
very
think that we
true.
could go another hour, but unbelievable.
But
I
by
really,
grace, yes.
I hope you can come back again sometime. Thank you so much, Dr. Jacalyn, for
Thank
joining
you.
us. And congratulations on today's launch of Lady Ella Goes to the Gym. And we look forward to more.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I've had a great time and I'd love to come back in the future.
Oh, great. We'll definitely have you back. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Dr. Jacalyn. We'll see you again. And thank you for joining us on the author journey today. And again, happy International Children's Book Day. And I want to make sure that everybody visits OC Publishing, because we have so many great children's books that you can have a look at. And hopefully support indie authors and read to your kids, and read aloud to anybody who will listen. So for now, I'm Ann O'Connell with OC Publishing, and I'll say goodbye and see you next time on the author journey. Bye for now.